True gossip, where the truth and the gossip. That's a concept, it's not the complex. Keep your mindset on the truth and the gossip. It's not a contest, but a step in a process to get the truth and the gossip. From the house to the streets where the gossip meets the truth. It's not the complex. Keep your mindset on the truth and the gossip. It's not a contest. True gossip, where gossip meets truth.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of True Gossip, where gossip meets truth. This is the second part of relationships, parents and their children, and the relationships that they have with them. So we're going to continue with part 2, and we want you to chime in. So we want you to go on Facebook, chime in, ask questions, jump in, or you can call us on 410-305-9421. We want to hear from you. So remember, just chime in, call us, get on this live, because this is about you guys. This is your group. So let's get right to the introduction. We got Tajuddin Shabazz, the man who brings his knowledge and wisdom. John Kinlaw, the man who speaks like a Southern speaker. He's our free Southern speaker. I'm sorry, guys. We got Maria Bisson, the woman who's keeping it real. And then here comes Bishop Britt Pleasure, the man who has the word. And then, of course, our co-host and our facilitator, Ramel Royal, the man who words are like a poet. And together, we are first cousins. You forgot to say it, Ramel.
First cousins. Well, welcome to the show. We got another exciting show. I'm glad you could be with us. And today's show, as Tanya mentioned, is parents and their relationship with children. This is going to be a good one. So let's get right to it. And I'm going to start off with the women on this one. And I'm going to start right with Maria. Maria, does parents live their dreams through their children? And if so, how does that affect their relationship?
Well, I don't know. I don't think that parents live their dreams through their children. I mean, I think that they make sure that they have a better education or a better, outlook in life than they did, especially if they had a hard life. But I don't see parents doing that nowadays. I mean, everybody likes their children, free spirited. If, that's what you want to do, that's what you do. You ain't, no, I don't see that. I really don't. Especially if, especially if the was a drug dealer. They don't want their child. If their parent had a dream of being a big time drug dealer, they didn't get there. I'm sure they don't want their child. You know what I'm saying? So I think parents today let their children, be who they want to be and do what they want to do, because society is out of control. Ain't no control anymore.
Bishop, your thoughts on that? Do you think parents live their dreams through their children? Or if so, how does that affect their relationship?
I think they try to. And when they try to, I think it affects their relationship in a way where a child can become rebellious, especially if their parent is not a parent to be a role model of. As Maria uniquely said, if they're a dope dealer and they fail, why would a child want to do the same? And then again, if a child sees that his parent's a doctor, that child may try to follow the role model of the parent, not so much the parent living the vision in the child. I'm in agreement with Maria. I think that that's a conflict of interest when a parent tries to make their child be what they couldn't be or what they wanted to be.
Okay. Kim, your thoughts?
I think it's the inevitable. I mean, if your parent, whether it be mother or father, if they were business owners and that's the only way they know about making a living, more than likely they're going to encourage you to be an entrepreneur. If your dad or parent end up working for the post office, they're going to recommend that you possibly work in the postal industry. If your parents went to pursue higher education beyond high school, they're going to continue to push you as going to college is the pedestal of making it in life. So I think in a certain case, we all kind of put our experiences on our kids, you know, but I think it comes to a certain point that we have to recognize the measurements of what is to be better for the child versus what we think is the best way. In a lot of cases, I think that's where we miss the point. And a lot of times we tend to drive that. Someone mentioned a doctor. And if that person is successful as a doctor, he's going to encourage his child to continue to go into something in medication when that child might be a good mechanic. So in a lot of cases, you have those situations where that parent might downgrade that child's ability to pursue something else and try to uplift what they're able to do because they felt like because they were successful at it, that's what that child should do. So I think you see a lot of that happen now. If that parent is successful at what they're doing, they're going to push down that child. That parent is unsuccessful or not happy where they're at in life, they're going to encourage that child to do better or more than them.
All right, thanks, Kinlaw. I just want to let you know that we have a caller on the line from New York, and her name is Joanne. Ramel?
Hey,
Joanne,
Joe.
your question?
I don't have a comment. I just came in segue, but I'm old school. I just feel that you can't be fun with the children because society is already waiting for them, to fail. So I just feel that you have to actually expose them to as much as possible at a young age. And also allow them to believe that they can do anything, the sky's the limit. I grew up in Portugal, so I didn't have much, and I didn't have too many role models at the time. So I did the opposite of running, just like I heard some of the part of chiming in. I wanted him to actually know he can do anything, possible. I didn't put him in a little area and say, well, this is all you can do. Anything's possible. Right now, my son is actually running for city council. So that's just to tell you how far, children can go if you push them, if you believe in them. It's more believing in them.
All right.
Well, we thank you, Joanne, for chiming in, and that is very encouraging what you said, and all the best to your child who's running for city council. And please continue to tune into the show and watch the show, and make your comments felt on the Facebook page that we have. So once again, thank you, and we appreciate you. Bishop,
Thank you, Joanne.
before we get to you, Bishop, I'd like to hear from Tajudeen first. Tajudeen, what do you think about parents trying to live their dreams through their children?
I can relate to that, where if you're a parent, you really want your children to follow your vision, but I don't think it should be your dream. You should have a balance to it. Say, for instance, a lot of times where if you played high school football and you wasn't good, now when your son comes along, now you pushing him when he's 3, take the ball. So you living through your dream through him. I think it needs to be a balance to that and not forcing it on him, because you never know. 2020, he might want to be a damn cheerleader. Now your whole dream and your vision is gone.
Hey, let's mute Tajudeen real quick.
Hey, before we get to Tanya, and that's an excellent point, Tajudeen, but before we get to Tanya, I think Bishop wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say that when we say have a child live our dream, that means that we want them to fulfill the footsteps that we didn't accomplish. Normally, that's what if you want your child to fulfill what you didn't accomplish, that's one thing. The other thing, and I Brother Tajudeen, again, like he said, what if your child just don't have a desire for that? Right. And it's sad, because when I listened to the answers to the question, I really didn't hear the answer to the question, which was to fulfill your dream. Because to fulfill your dream means that you didn't accomplish it.
I mean, excellent point. Tanya, why don't you close us out on this?
Yeah, so the question that you was asking, do parents live their dreams through their children? And if so, how does that affect their relationship? And it depends, like Shabazz said, what the relationship is between that parent and that child. You know, is there something in common? Do you see that there is something in common with that child that will make you want your child to do something that you've done? And I'm gonna give you an example. I always have an example. I used to run track. And when my son started running track, I was like, yes. And I was rooting him on because I wanted him to continue that dream. And I believe that I was trying to fulfill something that I didn't fulfill. And not that he didn't like it, he loved it. He ran Penn State, he did all that, got a full 4-year scholarship and all that, because that was something that he liked. But then he found another passion. And, you know, and his passion was no longer that, and he turned it into something else. And I wasn't angry about that. I accepted that. I let him go on and pursue his dream and continue to do what he wanted to do. But I did want to see him continue to win them gold medals, because he was winning gold medals.
I wonder if that's why my mother made me go to dancing school. I never thought about that. I wonder that's why my mother made me go to dancing school.
Yeah, I did that with my daughter.
You didn't become a Rockette?
Going to
I
dancing
never
school.
thought of that. I never thought of that.
You wanted to become a Rockette, huh?
Child, I can still do some steps now. Don't get me started.
So that's like 2 steps, 3 steps, back steps, hop steps, all them steps.
So I just want to say, I think that when it comes down to parents and their children, it happens more often than we think. A lot of times parents are trying to live their dreams through their children. And, you know, Tajudeen touched on it a little bit. Tanya even gave an example of it. A lot of times we might push a child into an area just because that was something that we were familiar with, or we had goals and dreams of when we was a kid, and it may not even be something of interest to them. And the question really comes down to, how does it affect the relationship with you and the child? You know, if you're pushing a child to be an athlete, as Tanya said, but yet they want to be a chef, and that could cause a strain between the relationship between the mother and, the parent and the child, and it could be some animosity down the line, you know. Then if you push them into the area that you want them to go in, and it happens to be an area of interest, then hey, the relationship can be great going forward. Tanya, did you want to lead us into the next round?
Yeah, I got one more caller. I'm gonna let her come on. This is Crystal from North Carolina. She's one of our regulars, and she has something she want to say. Go ahead, Crystal.
Hey, congrats, Cass, love y'all. Sister Maria, I agree with you, because when I was a little girl, my mama said to me, I wanted to be a ballerina. Obviously, I never became a ballerina. That's why I use my mouth as my tool. I went to business school, and now I'm a minister. So, you know, I couldn't dance, but I did take up her side of the business. So, you know, I guess one of her dreams didn't get through me, but her other one did. So I do agree that some parents just try to live their goals to their kids. I wish some wouldn't have done that, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, either way, we have to not live our lives through our kids. Allow our kids supposed to be their own people, and also not try to influence their dreams, because the only true influencer, y'all, is God.
All right.
So that's it on that one.
All right. Thank you, Crystal, for calling in, and we catch you next week. Have a great day. Bye.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. So that's going to lead us into our other question. And the question is it appropriate for the parents to tell their children to do what I say and not do what I do as I do? Go ahead, Ken Law. Let's hear from you.
I think, well, I have a 9-year-old who thinks she's 25 already. So I tend to say that message a lot, because she thinks that because I get to eat in the living room, that she can come out and eat in the living room as well. And we have an entire kitchen table that's designated for her to eat, because her eating is totally different from my eating. So yes, I think it's fitting for the time being. But I think it's also very important that if you're going to be that parent that says, do as I say, not as I do, then you need to do something that's going to warrant them, that type of message to come across the way that it does. I mean, at the end of the day, it's best that you lead by the best example possible as a parent. So you don't have to say, do as I say, not as I do, because those kids, as they get older, they're going to challenge you on the things that you do. And it can become a rebellious situation. And then next thing you know, you can see a strain of that relationship. So I don't think it's fair after a certain point in time, because, we are the first and primary examples of that child to follow. So if you're a parent, I think it's best to stay away from that message.
All right, Bishop, what do you feel about that question? Is it appropriate for parents to tell their children to do what you say and not as you do?
I believe Proverbs 22:6 makes it appropriate. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. I think that as far as it goes to that, when we train them up properly, they will do as we say and not as we do.
Let me ask you the question. You're doing things, and say, for example, you're doing something, you don't want your child to do it, but you're saying train them up in the Lord and they should go and they should not depart. But
you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing it in front of them.
Let me ask you this. You're saying don't do this, don't do this, but it's appropriate for the grown-up to do this, but you don't want your child to do this. How do you separate that? How do you get them not to do these things?
You just let them know. You don't tell them don't do as I say, don't do as I do as I say. What you tell them is that I can do this because I'm an adult. And adults are allowed to do this, but children shouldn't do this. Because when my mother told me don't do as I do as I say, I did the opposite of what she said.
Of course.
And that's just the fight you'll have with a child when you make that statement. You can make that statement, but it's the way you make the statement that will correct the situation. And that's why you're training a child in the way that you're going in with it. When they're old, they won't depart from it.
All right. Okay, Maria, your hand was up. What do you think about that?
I just think that statement is just do what I say and not as I do. I mean, it's like, really, you really have to keep a child in a damn box because there's so much going on. It's hard for them not to do whatever because of society, really. A lot of people, really don't realize it, but society is raising a child. The TV is raised, PS5 or whatever, too. Everything else is raised. It's parents sitting at the damn TV with the game, whatever. So I don't understand. You really can't say that really nowadays. Unless you're extra strict, because it's just so much going on. You really can't say that now. You're doing stuff in front of your kids. Of course, but it's like you really have to keep them in a box nowadays. Do as I don't do as I do as I say. That's really mood if you doing something you ain't got no business doing. And that's like your child is watching you from Sunday to Saturday. Sunday you go to church. Monday, I don't know what you're doing. Tuesday, then playing cards on Wednesday. And then you going, to church. You doing stuff, but you showing your child, one thing is positive, but then you're gonna tell them the rest of the week, whatever. So that's how it is. That's how, and people are doing that. Yeah, you do all of this other stuff or whatever. You playing both sides. You're doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
The rest of the week doing, so you really can't say that nowadays.
Okay, so Shabazz, what's your thought on that? And so we can just give this over to Ramel in a minute.
Right. I don't think you should have to say that. You just do it. Right. So when you say it, that's gonna make the child rebel.
That's exactly right.
So you really shouldn't even have to say that. Just be that example. And I wanted to also say that I wanted to nominate Ken Law for the Cliff Huxtable Father of the Year Award from his last statement. Peace. Mute that, bro.
Congratulations.
That's hilarious.
We gotta give him a gold medal.
I got one more thing to say, if I may.
Wait, hold on a second. Before I give it over to Ramel, I want to say this because I know everybody's long-winded. So I'm going to get my little question. And I believe that a child should know, do as I say, not as I do. But there are things that you have to give them examples. Like, you tell your children, I want you to finish school. I want you to go to high school and finish. I'm not talking about college. I'm just talking about just school in general. But sometimes a child will look at you, what if you didn't finish school? And the child say to you, well, you didn't finish school. Why should I go? What do you say to your child in that situation? You know,
Don't do as I do as I say.
yeah, but you know, sometimes a child will say, well, hey, Dad.
But you contradicted yourself, Bishop.
That's what
I'm just saying, but it's the way you conduct that.
This is why I'm with the panel. You have to be an example for your child, like Shabazz said.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You do the right thing in front of them, and you have to worry about that. Go ahead, Ramel. You got the floor.
Ken Law said he wanted to say something.
Listen, Ken Law, go ahead and make your statement before I go.
Not being that you said it so nicely, I will. So, but no.
Oh,
But no,
jazz.
to the point of it is this, you know, it's one of those things where I did a study, right? It said that if one of your parents was under substance abuse or alcoholism, that child is 50% more higher to do the same thing, or the chances of that is 50% higher than a child that doesn't have a parent that indulge in substance abuse or alcoholism. So it goes to the whole saying, you reap what you sow anyway. And that is through psychology and biology that child is connected through that type of activity, right? So a lot of us that have done things in our life, think about what your parents have done in some form of their life, whether it's been years ago or recently, and you can connect the dots that way. So it's very important to do the right thing and show that example. And you can't just say, do as I say and not as I do, because it is chemically connected that we're going to reciprocate the same thing that was done prior to genetically, chemically, and biology and psychology. That is a scientific fact.
And Mr. Huxtable has spoken.
Hey, listen, let me just close this out on this. But before I go, I want to acknowledge Natasha White. She said that children emulate their parents and their parents are their first teachers. She's 100% right. Listen, call me old school, call me what you want, but I'm for do as I say, not what I do. Because if you're a quality parent, you ain't gonna do anything that they should not be doing. That's number one, in front of them. And number two, you're always gonna have your child's best interest at heart. So you're only gonna steer them in the right direction. And you know what? Children need discipline. They need discipline. They need to be directed. They're immature. They're young. They're not ready. They're not adults. They're children.
I know.
They need to be told what to do. But listen, you can't tell a kid not to smoke weed and you rolling up in front of them. I mean, that's a poor example.
And it's not just that, Ramel, too. It's other things, too, that you say, do as I say, not as I do. Just like I was talking about that school, for example. You know, you have parents who dropped out of school, didn't finish or whatever, and you're telling your child, go to school, and your child look at you, well, you didn't. You know, and I know you have to give them explanation why they got to go to school and tell them to finish school. You know, I'm talking about like,
absolutely.
You know, so, and it's not nothing wrong because the parent didn't finish school, but you still have to explain to them why they should go to school and complete their school or whatever the case may be. But, you know, it can go both ways.
Here's the thing, if you're not nurturing them, to do what you tell them to do, when it's time for them to do what you need them to do, they're not going to be able to do it because they ain't been doing what you told them to do.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to move on. And I'm going to start this off with Tajudeen. Tajudeen, this is a little touchy subject because I spoke to some new millennials and they got different opinions on this. But should a parent be a friend to a child? Tajudeen?
Hell no.
That's right.
And I'm going to say it like this.
He said, hell no.
First of all, I'm not your friend. I got three of them. I'm not your friend. I'm friendly, but I'm not your friend. You're not going to call me by my first name. You know, you're not going to put me on the level of your friend or your peers. I'm the authority figure when I'm in the right, but you're not going to, I'm not your friend. I'm friendly, but I'm not your friend. and they got to live with that. Peace.
Mm. Mm. Kim Law, your thoughts on that?
I have girls, and I tend to be playful with them. But when it's time to be a disciplinary person, my significant half can tell you I'll be the first one to step in line and make sure things is set right. To answer the question, no, I don't think you can be a friend with your children to your child. However, I don't want to be that parent where my child cannot just come to me for advice or things. I'd rather them confide into me about things versus some of their peers or their friends. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't want to be that type of person where they just can't come to me for whatever, you know. I like to make it to where they're comfortable with me, but at the same time, they recognize that I am that authoritative figure in their life, and that at the end of the day, I am where the buck stops. I don't think you can be a friend to that child. But at the same time, you got some teen parents out there, I mean, who've had their children when they was like 13, 12, 14, 15 years old. And you it's a different type of relationship. I was 30 before I had my first child, so it's a different relationship. So I can't speak to that, but I can only imagine there has to be a difference in how that relationship is at such a young age.
Children raising children.
Right.
Tanya, your thoughts? Tanya,
I'm with
should a parent be a friend to a child?
No, they should not be a friend. And I'm with what Ken Law said and what Tajani said. You can be friendly, but I'm not your friend. There's a line between friends and friendly. You know, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna guide you, I'm gonna lead you, I'm gonna give you some advice. You know, we can kiki ha ha every now and then about a joke or two or whatever and have a great time. But like Shabazz said, you're not gonna call me Tanya. You're not gonna, you know, just be out of line and be a grown up. I don't care how grown you are. You're gonna respect me as your mother. And you know, and like Kim Law said, you know, I had my daughter at 20 years old, so I had her young. But I didn't grow up with her. I grew up being her mother because I'm still, you know, like 10 years older, like 20 years older than her. But you know, as she's older now, you know, I might go hang out with her or something like that. We go out to eat, laugh, have a little drink or whatever. But I'm still her mother. In the same run, I'm still her mom, no matter what. And we can't have that relationship of we friends and we hanging out and we cussing each other and you know, we doing stuff like that. That's not happening.
Bishop, your thoughts?
Absolutely not. There's nowhere in the world. I have a daughter. My oldest daughter, because I got 7 children. My oldest daughter, she's 37 years old, and I think we've had one drink together ever in my drinking season. This is not the season, y'all. This is not the season.
I was gonna say
let me get the clarity. Let me put some clarity to that. This is not the
Listen.
I was gonna say,
but what I'm gonna say,
Jesus turned water to wine.
Amen.
Can I say this? The scripture,
I thought he was gonna say communion.
Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2 tells us, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise. And the promise is that your life will be long as he gives it to you on this earth.
Yes.
But now, me and my child, or me and my children, we wasn't smoking bud together. We wasn't partying together. We wasn't clubbing together. Because I think a child should stay in a child's place. And you will always be a child. I was 55 years old. 54 years old before my mother passed. And my mother told me before she read her eyes with the rest, you will always be my child. Remember, you are a child to me. And that's what your children need to remember. And so if I become your friend and we become too commonly associated with one another, and it gets to the point where you're like, yo, what's up, nigga? What's going on, playing all that N-word and all that stuff, we're going to pump them brakes real quick. We're going to pump the brakes on my breaker, one or the other. Because you're going to respect me as your parent. Because God gave me rule over you, not you.
Let's hear from Maria. Maria, your thoughts on that?
When did we pull up?
Look. We
Don't tell me you're going to be the lone wolf.
Listen, We gonna pass with Maria on this question.
Why?
Because I take the fifth. Move on to the next.
Hey, I got a question.
All right,
I got
we'll
a
move
question
on.
though.
No.
We get you
Listen.
next time around.
Listen,
Listen,
no, seriously,
it-
I got a question.
I
Say
said, no,
something.
I had, oh, go ahead. But I just wanted to say, yeah, I had my children very young, okay? And I was very friendly with my children, but I was also really strict with my children. So it was like, it was a balance.
Balance yourself.
You know, it was a really balance because we was like, you know, learning together. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and then when I had my kids, I was still partying because I wasn't even at that state where I was like, you know, I'm still out doing what I wanted to do. So when I had to like really, you know, wake up and realize, listen, you can't, you know, and I had to literally balance it out. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I party with my children because they adults now.
Right, and I'm not saying that you can't because, you know, like I said, I go out with my daughter, hang out with her, but there's a respect.
And I mean, and there's no really, you know, they don't disrespect me. You know, we have a respect line or whatever going on.
Right,
So,
you're not hanging out and like y'all just doing this party and
no strip club. You know, we're together. You know, I have a bunch of children. So, you know, we're together, you know,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this before I get to Bishop. I'm gonna say this. I think as long as
What to say?
your child is a dependent, friends should never even come across their mind. But as they get older and they're dependent and they're on their own and they're doing their thing and they're 30 years old, 25 years old, and they're on their own, and I think you could become a friend at that point. Listen, you talk about strip joints. My son graduated from high school, I took him to a strip joint. My son turned 21, I took him to a strip joint. I mean, yeah, there's certain things that I've done that, yeah, really. And there's certain things that I have done with my son recently that seems like it's on a friend level because now he's 33 years old. You know what I mean? So how about the father and son that meets up every Saturday at the barbershop, maybe go get a football game in, maybe a local basketball game. At some point when they're independent and they're on their own, yeah, I think you could become friends. But as long as they're living in your house and under your roof, and you're supplying food, shelter, and clothing, they should never, ever, ever be a friend. That's just my take on it.
But let me ask you this though. Wait, Romel. Let me ask you this though. So what if your kids are of a certain age, you know, they might still be going to college and stuff like that. And you know, they might be 22, 23, 24 years old, and you take them to the barbershop or wherever you're going with them. And even though you're still supporting them in some mean, you know, I'm just going about off what you said. How come you can't be their friend? I feel that there's a place of friendship and respect.
I think as long as you taking care of them, they're still a child.
22, 25.
They're still a dependent.
I'm gonna disagree.
As long as they're dependent, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. But I got a bigger question. I have a question.
I had a question. Y'all said you was gonna let me say it.
Go ahead, Bishop.
Say what I wanted to say.
Yeah,
I want to use a primary example. I have a sister at 15 years old. At 15 years old, she was made to get married to her 20-year-old boyfriend because he got her pregnant. Her son now is 44 years old, right? And because of, and I come to Maria, and I understand what you're saying, Maria, because of her growing up symbolically with her child, that when he's 44 now, it's like, yo, but there should be a level of respect there. I don't see any problem with parents being friendly towards their children, but they're not their friends. I don't care how you want to treat them.
Bestie, when you
Friendly is one thing. Being their friend is another thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Hey, I got a quick question. I got a quick question for the panel. Of course, when we answer this, we're speaking of traditional matters or settings.
Right.
What about that parent, that mother or that father who is not in their child's life? Again, let's just take some example. They had it at a very young age, that he was in his teens, she was in his teens. He wasn't ready to be a father. 5, 10, 15 years later, he's kind of settled in his, settled down now. He meets that teen child. You see what I'm saying? In a lot of cases, you go back into that situation trying to be a friend to that child,
Before being
hoping
a
to
parent.
build that relationship
Before being
as
a
a
parent.
parent. You see
But
what I'm
that's
saying?
a different story.
And that's what
I'm gonna answer
into
that with this, and then we're gonna move on. I'm gonna answer it like this, and then we're gonna move on.
And I
In a
have somebody on the
situation like
line too, Ramel.
Okay. In a situation like that, Ken Law, I'm gonna use Tajuddin's answer. It's okay to be friendly so that this way they can introduce themselves and be their parent at some point. Not maybe a mommy, daddy, but just be friendly so that they can open up and these guards can come down and maybe they can establish a relationship. I wouldn't come at them trying to be their friend, but I would be friendly. Who we got on the line?
We got Tawana from Georgia on the line. Go ahead, Tawana.
I guess I'm late. Hi, listen, I kind of disagree with the panel. I think that you can be your child's friend, but they have to be an adult in order to be their friend. And it seems like some of you are talking about like children. Yes, they shouldn't, at 14, 15 years old, they should not be your friend. You should not consider them a friend. At that age, you're still guiding them and showing them what you should do. I have 6 kids, 8 kids all together. And we joke, we laugh, they say I'm their friend, vice versa, but my kids learn. I think you can be the child's friend, but it has to be a line, and they know it, and it has to start from at an early age, not just when they get grown and, then all of a sudden they want to be your friend and think, hey, girl, whatever, because my kids don't do that. So I think you can. And I was a young mother. I had my child very young. My son is 34 years old, and I was never his friend up until now. He may say I'm his friend or something like that, but other than that, I've never been their friend. So I think a child and a parent can be friends. My mother was my friend. So I just kind of disagree with that.
Oh, we thank you for that insight, Tawana.
I just want to say is thanks for the call, Tawana. But Tawana is kind of saying what I
saying.
Well, we always saying the same thing.
Once,
I don't know what we're going to say.
No. What she was saying is when they become adults, I say when they're independent, it's okay, it's safe to be their friend. But let's move on, because this here, I'm a firm believer that it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
A parent can't do it alone, all right? So my next question is, should parents respect negative comments or warnings from neighbors, friends, and family when it comes down to their child? I'll start with you, Maria.
Don't you come tell me nothing about my child.
Be ready to fight.
No, see, I'm like the total opposite. If somebody tell me that my child did something, 9 out of 10, they did it. I am not in denial of what my children can do and what they're capable
I
of.
agree.
And people that maybe are in our age group will understand that we had neighbors that would report out to our parents when they came home from work what we did, and they told on us, they snitched. And I mean, it's like they took a list and they read it. And our parents didn't believe us. They believed them. And if they wanted to, they gave them permission to whoop us if we did something, I guess, out of ordinary. But what I'm saying is that we don't have that, and that's why we are different than what's going on today. We really need the village back. Y'all need to get that village back.
Yeah,
Because
you're
it's
right.
because
I agree with that.
I'm not gonna tell. I mean, if I'm your friend and you know me and I see your child doing something, you shouldn't question me. You know, you shouldn't be like, nah, I don't think that. No, yeah, it's something. But if you don't know me from Jack, I don't even mind you questioning me. But I'm not gonna tell you something. I'm not gonna tell you something for nothing. I'm not just gonna stop you in the street and say, Sally threw a rock, whatever, at the window broke. I'm not gonna do that. But people really need to stop being in denial of their kids, and they need a village. If somebody tell you that your child did something, 9 out of 10 they did. They did.
And you know what's funny? You know what's funny about that, Maria? You know what's funny? As kids growing up in the projects, it was 4 walls: 36th Avenue, 12th Street, 24th Street,
34.
and 34th Avenue. And it's like we all lived in one room, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, when we played hooky from school, if we saw somebody's parent, we hide behind trees, ducking underneath cars, running. When I became an adult and I saw somebody's child during school hours, you know they were supposed to be in school, they would walk up to me, hey, Ramel, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know, times has changed. But I'm gonna move on to Ken Law. Ken Law, what do you think? Should parents respect other people's comments, even if they're negative about your child?
I think we do a good job with taking in, I guess, things in which is said about what our child has done. We actually have a thorough conversation to also hear what she has to say about it, and then we make a decision based on that. Let me be clear. Regardless of what my child has done, do not touch my child. That's just where I'm at right now in this phase. I know there used to be a time where, heck, even my mom, every single year in school, she gave every teacher in every grade permission to whip my behind because I was already 6 foot at 12 years old, 165 pounds. So, yeah, she felt that was the way. Nowadays, yes, tell me what you need to tell me and let me handle my child in the manner in which I need to handle, because I take pride in being a parent and making sure that we do the things that is necessary to correct. But I do not want anyone touching my child. I've even side-eyed my own parents, in some cases, because, and a lot of times I just think that, for example, with my 9-year-old, she's not the average 9-year-old. And in a lot of cases, people are not used to. You ever had that child that's smart, that's real? We all got kids, right? And you know that your child is smarter, but then another group of people, their child is not as smart as yours. So therefore, they will take your child as being disrespectful because they can articulate themselves differently. They can answer with a straight tone, look you in the eye and just carry a conversation. So I don't want my child to be chastised for being disrespectful when really she's just being the best that she can be. And you're not used to your child that's not able to walk and chew gum. You see what I'm saying? Examples like that. So in that case, don't touch my child because I don't want you to take advantage of your authoritative figure or role as an adult. Tell me what you need to tell me about my child. Let me deal with my child. Do not put your hands on none of my kids. That's where I'm at.
All right, Tajudeen, your thoughts on that?
You done scared everybody.
Ain't scared me. I got something to tell them about his child.
You remember when Ramel said, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
But that it has to be a righteous village. You can't be in a village of savages and they try to raise your child. So I think you should have to consider the source, whether it's friend, neighbors, or family. That's like saying, well, I seen your child smoking crack. Then when you go confront your child, you say, well, yeah, I'm smoking crack because I bought it from the dude that told you I was smoking crack. So you got to consider the damn source of who's bringing you that information, because the same dog that'll bring you a bone will steal a bone.
Sure will.
Bishop, your thoughts, Bishop?
I'm going to go back to 1962.
Oh, Lord.
In 1962, you knew what to do when your mama came home. You was out of line, and Miss Jones told mama after Miss Jones done beat you down, you know to take your mama's money off because she coming for that bare skin, okay? But I will say this. I could say that with those chastisements that we had as children growing up made us better people than these millennium kids. These kids are crazy. They're crazy. They have no respect for their parents. Half of them have no respect for their parents, let alone their neighbor. I had a 5-year-old one day tell me, mind your business.
Yeah.
And I looked, I thought I was Tyler Perry Mardia for me. I was about to snatch that boy up out of the chair and beat him down. And I went to his mother and said, your son told me to shut up. And she said, oh, he did? You know, he just can't. I said, but the next time he tell me to shut up, I'm going to shut you up for him. Because ain't no child going to walk around here at 8, 9, 10 years old telling me what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. I got a 1331 here that I'm 2.5 to go into jail for, okay? Because you're not going to tell me what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And guess what? I'll give any of your permission to see my child alive, beat him down and bring him home.
With that, we're going to move on to Tom.
No, I'm going to say because Ken Lord said something. And I think that's the problem that we have right now is because parents don't want no confrontation about their children. Not that he won't take the confrontation.
And children don't have fear of the parents. I'm just saying. But other adults.
At least, yeah, they don't. They don't because that's
they don't have fear
of
other adults.
911. My mother said, I ain't got to listen to nobody. Yeah, come on.
Let me respond to that.
Yeah, well, let me.
No, all you supposed to really do is just give your child supposed to know the look on your face.
That's right.
You supposed to have a look on your face. And as soon as you look, I don't care how old the child is. I don't care how old the child. You looking at that child like that since they was born until the time that they grown. They know that look on that disapproval look. So
all right, let's move on from that, guys. Let me answer the question, then we're going to move on to the next question. And I'm with everybody on the panel about that, you know, I'm not going to say not my kids, because I'm like Maria. My kids was capable of doing all types of stuff. They took their bikes and rode 3-4 miles, and I didn't even know. And I canceled Halloween for them because they did something wrong. And because somebody told me that they were there. But I always do the investigation, and I give them the right to defend themselves. So this is so-and-so said that you did this. Let me hear your side of the story, you know, and give them the chance to explain themselves why they did what they did. And then you go from there. But I was never the parent to say, not my kids, because like you said, your kids, when you're not around, you're not looking, they're going to do all types of stuff that you don't think that they're going to do. Your kids ain't that good. Trust me. So we're going to move on from that. And we're going to go on to the next question. Then I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Ramel. And it says, what is the most important characteristic trait should a parent instill or emphasize in a child? Go ahead, Ramel.
Yeah, I really think it is integrity and honesty. If you can instill that in your child, I think everything else will fall in place. Now, it doesn't mean they don't need nothing else, but I just think, because for one, you want to be able to believe your child when they tell you something. Mm-hmm. 2, you want them to be able to be appropriate and be presentable whenever they're out and about. And that's where integrity has a place for it too. So I'm looking at integrity and honesty, you know, and the thing is, in order to instill that, you have to represent it. You know, and one thing I always ask of my children is to talk to me openly and be honest with me, because the things that you need to know, the next person ain't gonna be able to tell you. They don't know just like you. They're the same age as you. And if you got integrity, if I'm not around to help you, and someone will work with you because you're presentable, you're appropriate, and you're cordial. So I'm gonna say integrity. I know it's integrity and honesty, but honesty kind of falls in line with integrity.
Yeah, before I go on to the next person, I'm gonna tell you what I think. I think that if a man or a woman, which would they have to grow up to become, they have to keep their word. Their word is their bond. If you don't have anything else and you have your word and you can stand on your word, then people will respect you and they will give you things like credit. Go ahead, Kimbo, what you think?
Oh, well, okay. So I think I think we're all going to say the same in regards to when it comes to just being honest. I tell my daughter all the time, don't be sneaky. Don't be someone who's
yes.
sneaky. And she's at that age now where she's trying to see what she can get away with. And when I discipline her for something as simple as a cookie or a marshmallow or whatever it is that I know that I done told her not to do, is to prevent her from taking a chance on some of the bigger things. Because if they do it on a small level,
that's right.
Before you know it, she'll be 15, 16, and we all know what that is about. You see what I'm saying? So I'm taking those times in. Another characteristic is cleanliness.
Oh, yeah.
Making up her bed, washing the dishes, wiping down counters, and when she cleans the kitchen to make sure that she does a thorough job of it, picking up after herself and making sure she keeps her bathroom straight. Why? Because she's going to want to start having friends over, or friends going to want to start having her over. And then you fast forward to which, if she were to go to college, we've all done had that college experience where somebody talked about this chick and how dirty and all this other stuff she is in her room. So, you know, the dudes be like, oh, yeah, I ain't mess with you. Your homegirl done told me about how you carry your business. So we have to instill that at a young age. So when she continues to get older and eventually leaves the house, she can carry and conduct herself the way that she needs to have. So honesty and cleanliness is one of the two things that I think is good to instill into a child.
So we got honesty, we have integrity, cleanliness, and keeping your word. Because those are some important things. Go ahead, Bishop. What you think the
I will be last. Let me be last.
All right, Maria. Since Bishop wanted to be last, go ahead.
Yeah, I was agreeing with the panel. That's why I said y'all took all the good answers. Now it's my turn. Now y'all done took everything I was gonna say. So I want to hear what Tajadine gonna say.
Go ahead, Shabazz.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say the same thing with honesty. There is nothing that my children can't come to me and tell me. But you tell me a lie, you'll see the other side of me. If you tell me a lie and I find out it's a lie, and I instilled that when they were little.
Right.
So now, as they're grown, there's nothing that you can tell me as long as it's the truth. And I might lose my cool for a minute, but at least you came to me with the truth. And like say that integrity, you got to live that before you can instill that into your children. If you know, integrity is doing what's right when nobody's around. So when they see that, they see how you carry yourself. So again, that honesty and integrity. Peace.
All right, Bishop, since you wanted to be last, what's the most important characteristics?
To love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul. That's the first and great commandment. And the second is like to love thy neighbor as thyself. And under the umbrella of love comes all that stuff you always talk about. Compassion, sincerity, diplomacy, trustworthy, honesty, loyalty, commitment, all that comes under love. That's the offspring of everything that we do. Love supersedes everything. Even God, love supersedes everything. That's why he loved us. He made us in his image and likeness. If we can teach our children to love themselves and to love God and to love others, under that umbrella of love, there'll be trustworthy, there'll be honesty, there'll be openness, there'll be open-mindedness, there'll be open willingness. So teach them to love, teach them to love. Teach them to love. Not say they love.
Right.
Teach them
All right. So Bishop comes with love. Okay. And you know what? That was a good question there, and we came up with a couple of characteristics, and I figured it'd be more than one. I think this is going to be the final question, so I'm going to go ahead and ask. And this one is a little bit more serious. You know, I was watching church this morning for my church on service, and the pastor was talking about. He said that the CDC stated that 1 out of 4 young adults have contemplated suicide in the last 30 days. So I asked this question. When you have behaviors such as that, where they're contemplating suicide, which parent is better suited to deal with that? A parent who's a parent or a parent who's acting like a bestie? I'm gonna start off with Tajadeen on that one.
I was getting ready to say it before they get the good answers.
That's a heavy question. We're taught that we're taught that mama is God in baby language. So she has that nurturing aspect of the God figure. So I think that that mother is more lenient to be able to deal with that on that one aspect. But I think the parent that has the best rapport with that child is the one that's best to deal with that. Because again, and I'm not talking about the dad-son relationship, because some dads are more closer to their daughters than they are in the righteous sense than they are to theirs. So again, I think it's the parent that has the best rapport to deal with that child during that situation. And if you know your child and you study your children, you can see when they're a little off or a little going through that depression.
Observation.
That's correct.
It's observation of the child.
Maria, your thoughts?
I disagree. I think it should be both parents. I mean, I know someone right now that has a child that's when I say very depressed, they are very depressed. And the reason why they are depressed is because the parents are hiding that they're not together anymore. And the child is not really, now the child is confused now. The child is older now. But now the child is confused. Now they bringing on it. Oh, now we have separate holidays now. So you're gonna be here, and then now it's coming. Now instead of them sitting her down together and saying, "Listen," now she's seeing it on her own. She didn't get any guidance to this. She's young girl. She ain't even in her teens yet. Now she's starting to come to see what's going on, and now she's really depressed. So what I'm saying is that both parents should sit the child down. It shouldn't be one or the other. It should be both, because 9 out of 10, both of them caused it. Because you don't know what's going on in the household. We just looking from the outside in. They know what's going on inside out. We don't know what type of relationship this child has with either or parent, because they probably doing their own thing, and the child is with the grandparent all the time. So you don't know what kind, but all I know is that both parents, when the child is depressed, both parents should come together nice, like in a nice way or whatever, no arguing, but just go in it for the child's sake and just nip it, because
for the sake of the child.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to do it separate. You should sit together and do that.
Understand. Bishop, your thoughts?
I agree with Mr. Tajadeen. I agree with him. Because the mother, in that Huxtable setting, Mr. Kinlaw, the mother's home with the children. And so being home with the children, they get more of an opportunity to see what's going on with the children. Dad comes in from work at 5, 6 o'clock or whatever. He eats, he showers, he goes to bed, he get up and bring the bacon home. So the mother is around the child majority of the time if the child is not in school. And then if the child's in school, now you have some other avenues that should be looking to see these things going on via the teacher, would observe behaviors that they will bring back to the parent for the parent to observe. And the mother didn't make that child by himself. The mother did not make that child by himself. Herself.
And again, I got you, Maria. Hold on.
Again, we're not talking about who made the child. I'm saying the mother is more observant to the behavior of the child than the parent than the father that's at work. And if both of them at work, it makes it even harder.
So you're trying to say that the men just ignore the kids?
No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I think that you're taking out of context what I'm trying to.
I think I am.
What I'm trying to establish is that when a mother's home all day with the child, say she got a child that's
read your way out of this one.
Why we ain't working? First of all, why the women ain't working? Why we got to stay
Maria, I
home?
said I got you.
Because we got
Relax,
some
I got you.
housewives. My wife is a housewife.
Reading way
Hello?
out of this one.
My wife's a
Stop it.
housewife. She don't
Oh,
work.
so
She don't work. I bring home the bacon and
Wait, do
fries
I
and
have
pan.
shoes
My wife
on?
don't
Do I
work.
have shoes on? Do I have shoes on at home? Or am I barefoot?
You might be both. You might be barefooted with your hair done, sitting down doing nothing. But I'm just saying, in all honesty, if both parents
Hey,
are working,
Bishop,
the
let me
mother
let's
has
let
more
Ken
I
Law.
blame
spent with the
Taja
child.
Dean.
The more parents, the
Yeah,
more
it's your
time spent with a
fault.
child is with a mother than a father. Let's be realistic about it.
Oh, no.
Can't
Let's
nobody
get to our
say that no other way.
Southern free thinker.
Free thinker. I got to get that right.
Ken Law, go ahead.
Set him right, Ken Lord. Set him right.
Yeah, he gonna have to set me right. Because I want to
Listen,
see this one. He got this plan.
so in the Hustable setting, Miss Hustable was an attorney. She was an attorney. Mr.
But that's
Hustable
why
was
watch
a
your kids.
doctor.
Right.
Okay. So if you fast forward in today's time, you have women that are in the working class more now than ever. So
Okay.
chances are that mother
She ain't
is
gonna be
working
home.
just as much as the father is. But what I liked about that Hustable setting is that both her and Mr. Hustable sat down together on that couch and they had a conversation.
Right.
And then on top of that, you had the grandparents and the other in-laws and things of that nature that came in and they sat down and had a conversation with them to kind of get their advice on how they would treat things, and then they would go to that child. So to Maria's point, I agree with her 1,000%. If you can get both parents involved in a scenario of that, it makes the situation better. Whether
Yes,
the
I agree
parents
with
are
that.
together or
If
not,
you can.
if the parents are together or not, if that father has to travel, if that mother has to travel, it's whatever to take take care of that situation for that child. I'm not going to use myself as an example, but if there was a father that was living 2 or 3 states away and they got a call that their child is on the verge of committing suicide, that father needs to travel 2 or 3 states
Right.
and take as much PTO or whatever the case may be.
I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with that.
Vice
That's
versa
right.
for the mother as well.
Mhm.
I am very observant when it comes to my kids. I don't just sit back and rely on my wife to just be the only nurturer or whatever the case may be when it comes to the kids, because we made those kids together. So yes, I work. I don't care if I
agree with
work
that.
100 hours that week. When I
Telling
come
you.
home, I still got to be a parent just as much as she is. I
Mhm.
got to step up and step in any way I can possible. I get 2 or 3 calls a day in some cases just to deal with or address a situation that I know I got to come to when I get home. That's how connected we are with it. And I think that's what really has to take. I think it's unfair to put it on one person or the other, because that one person might not be strong enough. What if, say, for example, I know what I've been through in life. What if my wife ain't been through none of that stuff in life? How is she going to address some of the issues that child is going through when she hasn't had to overcome adversity and things like that in her life?
Didn't
But
have
I
the
know I had to
experience.
overcome certain things in my life.
That's
So that's where I'm at.
That's an excellent point. That's an
You know,
excellent point, Ken
You know
Law.
who?
And
you
you
know,
delivered
that's where
that
I'm at.
as all. And listen, this has been a fabulous show. But before we end it, as always, we always allow Tanya, our founder and co-host, to end the show.
Can I ask Bishop something first?
Ask me, because I still
Can I put my shoes back on now?
No, take your scarf off, Aunt Mama.
Okay, guys.
Get in the kitchen.
I didn't want
Go
y'all
ahead,
to see
Tanya,
my
close us
dreads.
out. Let's let Tanya answer the question, and then she'll close us out.
I blame Mr. Shabazz for this.
I'm looking for a trophy. Show
Yeah.
you.
So we just going to go ahead and I'm not even going to answer that question. I think y'all all answered that question. Y'all all had your thoughts on that. But we just want to say thank you for tuning again to True Gossip, where gossip meets truth. Catch us next week on the same bat channel, as they say. I know that's old school, but you can't catch us live. Catch us on YouTube. That's one of our favorite spaces where we like to put our shows. You can catch us on Spotify, iTunes, and Instagram. So we thank you for chiming in. And remember the number, 410-305-9421, so you can call in and be part of the panel. Thanks again, guys, and we see you next week.
You can